6 years ago, when I was really new on YouTube, I participated in a video tag, something almost unheard of these days, called Profile of an Atheist. We discussed several very key political viewpoints to show the variation and diversity among atheists. I answered all but three, one on the death penalty, one on my economic views, which has changed considerably since I started on YouTube, and one on the abortion issue. I said I'd make videos on these later because the topics would take too long. I was actually quite pro-death if quality of life was not good, and worried about population at the time. So my argument for a pro-choice stance weren't very solid. I made a video against the death penalty, but my beliefs were for very cruel and very poor reasons, based on punishment, not justice, and I was so berated and shown my ignorance, and people were rightly horrified. It was one of two videos I've taken down out of the nearly 400 videos I have up. It killed my desire to even attempt at the abortion video, so it has stayed in limbo for this many years. Over time, I began collecting both philosophical and legal arguments that the Supreme Court actually used to decide Roe v. Wade, that most of the nation is absolutely oblivious to. So after 6 years here, the last piece of the video, Profiles of an Atheist, is now available. In the next few weeks, I may decide to redo the original video and compare and contrast with my old video, and maybe create a tag video. It would actually be a really good idea to resurrect old tag videos now that the YouTube field has completely changed. There are 5 major reasons why the Supreme Court decided to make abortion legal in the US, and many only have an understanding of a few of them. The arguments used by pro-lifers starts out with every human being should have the right to life and therefore the right to be born. The court counters with this. 1. No human being has the right to use another person's body to live without consent, and that consent must be able to end at any time the donor wishes. Just like how consent during sex must be constant and continual during the entire event or it becomes rape, if at any point a person no longer wants to keep another person alive using their body, it must end or it is a violation of a human right. If a person with a rare blood type decides not to donate blood to other people who are dying with that blood type, it is illegal for the government to forcibly take blood from one person to save the life of another. This is called body autonomy. A fetus requires use of another's body, which is illegal without constant consent of the owner of the body. This completely negates any personhood amendment any state tries to pass. Even if the US were to recognize a fetus as a person, Roe v. Wade would still stand thanks to this argument. Religious pro-lifers will counter that they believe the fetus has a soul, often at the time of conception, an idea which was unheard of until around the time of the Victorian era, when anatomy books began showing the human-like appearance of fetus at later stages. Abortion was completely condoned by the church until the time called the quickening, which was the time the baby was able to kick. However, courts do not use religious moral determinations in cases, they use ethics and judicial precedents. According to religious pro-lifers, the reason why the fetus is human, and humans at any stage are special and deserve protection is because they have a soul. So number 2, there is no way to test for a soul in a fetus. Making demands for abortion to be forcefully illegal because of religious objections is unconstitutional, as you cannot push your religious beliefs on anyone else. This becomes a religious belief issue, and that means that the law must make eating cows illegal because they have a soul according to Hindus. An argument used is that a fetus is special because they had potential to be human, which is true about every one of your egg and sperm cells, and by that argument should be considered illegal not to be trying to get pregnant every second possible because of the potential life. If you're going to use the argument of potential life, then all sperm and eggs should be protected, and conception should occur as often as possible, as you're wasting a potential life. Non-religious pro-lifers will counter that the fetus had no say in the matter as it is innocent, and it did nothing to cause itself to be using its mother's body. They assert that all human life by definition is protected, and just as alive as any other human, and should have all the same rights. The fetus had no say in being conceived and is now akin to being held hostage against their will, which trumps the first case. So, number 3, the age that it starts being inherently what we determine to be human and shows traits we value about humanity is an incredibly complex and often counterintuitive philosophical and ethical discussion. 80% of all fertilized eggs get aborted naturally, and miscarriage is incredibly common. and biologically there are only a few gene differences between a fertilized egg and any other cell in your body. Without the argument for a soul, there is nothing inherently special about a fetus until the very late stages that distinguishes it from many of the other tissues in a mother's body. Why do we value things as needing rights to exist? The fetus has no desire or higher consciousness, it is not intelligent, it doesn't think about what it wants. There is no evidence that the fetus has any more ability to make a choice than any other animal, which we kill every day, or other body tissues we cut out at the request of the owner without question. Elephants, dolphins, whales, great apes, and some parrots and crows have incredible intelligence, and the law doesn't defend their killing as morally repugnant. However, it feels wrong to terminate the life of a fetus, and that is because we're evolved to think emotionally about a baby and want to protect it, and we anthropomorphize things to have more agency and intelligence than it actually has. What stage a fetus or a baby is at the stage of mental coherency to be considered protecting is a complex area. The Supreme Court decided to cut the stage off at the time when the fetus is viable outside of the womb, specifically because of the issue of body autonomy. There are fuzzy arguments that it should be earlier or later than that stage, but for legal reasons, they had to pick a time. They decided before that stage to leave the decision to the individual. After 20 to 27 weeks, depending on the state, the fetus is considered viable and is no longer bound to the first rule and is therefore not an abortion, just a birth, and the mother had the right to abandon the child to be cared for by the state, as a mother forced to take care of a child would be a pretty terrible mother, most likely. The state has the right to set the time of viability, after which point it's banned somewhere between the 20 and 27th week. There are exceptions required by the Supreme Court in case of physical or mental danger to the mother, cases of rape and incest, and debilitating disease and deformity of the fetus. The pro-life argument only focuses on the fetus. It completely ignores the mother. Pro-lifers tend to view pregnancy as just an annoyance that the mother should put up with, because she dared to have sex, either protected or unprotected. She knew the risks. It is a punishment mindset that takes no account for human nature and our natural psychological drives. So number 4, expanding on body autonomy, pregnancy is a real risk to life and health. Pregnancy kills thousands yearly worldwide. America has a higher pregnancy death rate than Costa Rica, and it exposes you to physical damage, postpartum depression, and the inability to financially move yourself up in the world, so you can better care for the children you already have or will have. For many, having a child at the wrong stage is an economic death sentence. Most people who have abortions want children at some point in their life, and most of them are mothers already with children, and they know that one more child would seriously reduce the quality of life and opportunities of their current children. For this reason, not having access to safe abortions impacts the poorest so much worse because it dooms them to poverty. The physical and psychological risks of pregnancy are why women aren't forced to carry it to term and adopt it out if they don't want to. On top of that, there are plenty of kids that need to be adopted, but no one wants them. Only 1% of women have been found to regret their abortion, but even if it were higher, women would still get to have the choice in what they do with their body. Number 5, prior to Roe v. Wade, botched illegal abortions were one of the top 10 killers of girls 15 to 25. Providing legal and safe places for abortions saved many, many lives. If people think making guns illegal won't stop people from getting guns, I can't even imagine why they want to make abortion illegal. Once Roe v. Wade ended, legal, safe access to abortions were available, and the rate of death from botched abortions were cut significantly. Similar to a heroin addict gaining access to fresh needle programs. The state may not condone what the user is doing, but it's saving so many lives. With Planned Parenthood being vilified, defunded, overregulated, and shuttered in many states, unsafe abortion drugs, blister agents, beatings, and even the coat hanger are returning in areas where poorer women have no feasible way to either care for a child or drive to an abortion facility to get a safe one. Churches and social programs will help out to keep them just on the margins, but childcare, education, food, and diapers are very expensive, and with such low-income jobs only available, often not working is cheaper than paying for gas to get to work and to pay for a very expensive childcare. It's often better for the child as well. Who cares for the child if it is born is a question rarely asked by the pro-lifers, and they don't usually look at the actual data. And the people most likely to be pro-life are often most likely to vilify social programs and government spending as leeches on taxpayers. Abortions are actually lower in areas where social programs are higher, as mothers know that they can actually take care of their children. They are also most likely opposed to teaching people how to have safe sex and using contraception, the only other scientifically known way to reduce rates of abortion. Even though it may feel wrong, there is no easy answer to this complex topic, and the court decided to leave the decision up to the individual, a very libertarian option, and not treat it as murder like pro-lifers feel like it should be. This is why laws are passed on evidence and data, not feelings and religious beliefs. There are a few possibly compelling arguments that the pro-lifers make, but judges almost never have a 100% clear-cut decision. Often they have to take the lesser of two repugnant decisions, so they have to decide to pick the lesser of two evils, and the pro-choice decision appears to be the best one. Sadly, people on both sides of the argument don't know these actual reasons for why abortion should be legal, in spite of a person's emotional misgivings.